Hi, everybody. It's Dan Cerrucci. I'm back again, and now I'm with Dev Goswami. And Dev, I really like saying your name, Goswami. It rolls off the tongue perfectly. And you are leading something called Reform NJGOP, which you started on Facebook. You're very involved with social media. I have to ask you, Dev, as a young New Jerseyan, and you've spent pretty much your whole life in New Jersey, right?
Yes, pretty
Why
much.
the hell do you want to get involved in the New Jersey Republican Party? Isn't it I mean, this is a blue state, Deb. What the hell? Why are you getting involved?
Because I have hope that the Republican Party will be the next dominant party in the state. Um, and it'll turn things around, right? The Republican Party gives me hope uh, out of the two major parties. They're the ones who have younger leaders who have, I believe, much more potential. Uh, as the demographics shift in the state, I also believe that we are going to become more Republican within the next 10 years. And we have data analysis, qualitative analysis, as quantitative to prove that the
Well,
state is turning red, not blue.
that's
And
one of the things I wanted to talk to you about because you're coming at this from a very analytical standpoint. You want to get the state GOP to get its database up to snuff. You have a background as a scientist. Tell us a little bit about that.
sure, so I completed my bachelor's at Rowan in biology, and I did my master's in biomedical sciences at Rowan School of Osteopathic Medicine. I worked as a research assistant at Columbia, Rawshamp, studying neurodegenerative diseases and Alzheimer's. But I was never into science, right? It was something that was probably more so forced upon me. And I think I'm more of a people person, though I don't show it at times, but I love interacting with people and
Well,
seeing
now
the
I
bigger
can tell
picture.
because you and I have had several conversations, and you're a very open people person. Did your parents wanted you to be a doctor or what? What was going on there?
So my dad actually told me I can be anything. My dad's much more liberal. My mom, who raised me, wanted to guide me into medicine and science, so that fell upon me. And when like my parents are immigrants to this country from Bangladesh, right? So they
Uh,
don't know that minorities have openings. So when I was little, my mom's like, I told her I wanted to be an ambassador, and she's like, "You can't. You don't have the connections for that, right? And you're Indian. You'll no one will hire you as an ambassador." And then, like for a while, that stuck with me, like till even to the first or second year of college, and I ended up like forgoing that dream for a while, right? But life turns things around. I ended up actually taking the State Department exam, passing it, not getting the interview to DC, which is the other step, but just developed an interest in local politics. I read so many books on corruption. I went through the AmeriCorps service. I went through teaching fellowship in Newark. I saw the problems firsthand within the state that made me want to go into public service.
and you read the book, the Soprano State, about all the corruption in New Jersey, which was the Soprano State was a sensation a few years ago.
Yep.
Okay, by Bob Engel, a new veteran New Jersey reporter, and a woman who co-wrote it with him, Sandy. I can't remember her last name.
Yeah,
But the book was quite a sensation. Um, Now you're in Fair Lawn, you're in Bergen County, and you've been there quite a while.
yeah. Since so I'm 32 now, so
Uh,
I've been living here since first grade when I moved here at the age of 6. So we moved from the Bronx, and I've been here ever since. Went to elementary school here, middle school here, went to high school at Paramus Catholic, went to college here. So South Jersey,
Went
but
to college where? I know you went to Rowan.
Rowan. Both my undergrad and grad degree was from Rowan.
Well, that we have that in common because I did my graduate degree at Rowan and I taught at Rowan. So, so did you take, you didn't take any courses in communication, did you?
I did. They had one requirement in public speaking that's required of all the
Oh, public
undergrads.
speaking. Do you remember who the teacher was?
Not top of my head, but the guy was rough on me. He said I swayed back and forth. Everyone should have. It should have been easy A. I got like a B minus or B in that.
So wait, you were animated. So what? You were animated.
Yeah, they supposedly we have to stand in a strict. He had a guideline to strict branch, so he didn't like that
Like
animation.
swaying back and forth.
He does not like the swinging back and forth.
You,
Yeah, I got my marked every single speech
you
I give.
should have had me. I taught public speaking. You should have had me. I think we would. I think we would have done better. I think we would have gotten along well because you're very natural. You are who you are, and one of the secrets of effective public speaking is to be who you are. Don't try to be somebody that you're not. Reveal yourself and be yourself, and that then becomes sort of your moniker, your trademark, and that's what makes people interested. Okay, so now you want to put together for the when you say reform NJGOP, and by the way, folks, you can go on to Facebook and look up reform NJGOP, and you'll find what Dev is doing and his group, and he posts interesting questions all the time. He's got a constant forum going on there, and you can participate and people can participate in it, and he's getting a lot of responses, and he's asking good questions about what do you think about this and what do you think about that in the Republican Party in the state, and how can the Republican Party build itself and grow and become competitive and become vital, because right now we only hold, is it only one congressional seat that the Republicans hold in New Jersey?
Two. So we have Congressman
Chris Smith,
and then we have Van Drew who switched.
Van Drew who switched. That's right. Oh, I'm sorry, Congressman Van Drew. That was a major development, a major switch. Thank you, Congressman Van Drew, who switched from the Democrat Party to Republican, but he was and now has just been elected to his first term as a Republican. So we have two, but that's not good.
No, it's been a disaster, and the narrative has been because of Trump, and we've done analysis work on this. It hasn't been of Trump. What we speculate what happened with the Democrats is so when Josh Gottheimer won his election in North Jersey 4 years ago, I believe it was, the same year Trump won, they picked up his model of campaign operations and placed it in the different districts, and it's been effective. How he ran as his campaign has been transplanted across the state
By the Democratic Party.
By the Democratic National Party.
And one of the things you've discovered is that the state Democratic Party has a unified system, a model for winning elections with a great database that they update. And the Republican Party has virtually 21 different models in the 21 counties of New Jersey. Am I crazy? Is that right, Dev?
Yeah, they also have a national database. So I should say it, but it's absolute garbage, right? We've taken a look at it. We had the ability to see what it is. It needs a lot of work, and we weren't going to spend time.
You're saying the national database that the Republican Party uses?
Yeah, so the RNC has given them a structure. I forgot the name of the database, but we've had it's not anywhere where the Democrats are. Let's keep it at that. And the 21 counties, they do their own thing. Like Sussex has an amazing database that they collect because the people are very into it. Parts of South Jersey has amazing databases based on who the leadership is. But then there's other parts who are running the elections like they're in the 90s, right? So it's not unified. You're absolutely right.
And some of these Republican counties like Ocean County, for example, which is a strong Republican county, they're very proprietary. It strikes me that they're not necessarily interested in sharing. I don't know. I mean, am I crazy? Are they or aren't they?
No, so you're absolutely right. So the issue we've bumped into is, for some unknown reason, there's a lot of pettiness between Republican committees members themselves internally. Then we have pettiness based on regional factions like the South and North Jersey factions,
Right.
and then in the county level, there's a lot of paranoia about taking credit, right? Like they don't want to give, the state chair possibly credit, so they try to hide some things. So it ends up in a system where it's not openness, right? There's not
Right.
it's people doing their own thing and trying to be the macho man or macho woman. And it ends up being a very dysfunctional party. And that's where we bumped into this.
There's a lot.
Exactly the same.
There's proprietariness, which I pointed out.
Yeah.
There are provincial attitudes, okay, highly provincial. It is New Jersey's not a very big state, folks, but it's very, very densely populated with a lot of very intense, competitive, and opinionated people. It's Jersey, like we say Jersey. It's a little crazy that way. And I mean, Dev, for the record, I mean, you and I are committed conservatives, are we not?
We absolutely are.
We're not down on the Republican Party.
No, we're not. If I was down on it, I
The
wouldn't.
Republican Party succeed,
Yes.
right? But we're wondering, what occurs to me, Deb, is they're competing for credit. Of credit for what? For losing?
For being political virgins, and that's essentially what it is right now. So people think they have titles, right? It's a fancy psychological trick they play. They're the chair of something. But what good is being a chair if you don't win elections and change policy within the state, right? It's just a title that means you're an empty suit, right? You have to win elections, get your candidates elected from the local level, from the municipal level, to the assembly level, to the Senate level, to the governorship. And then you have to put more members into the state party so they're not controlled by bosses. There's two different systems, right? There's the democratic system where people go vote, and there's the internal party.
Right.
And our thing is we're trying to build up the internal party administratively, so we can win elections, right? And bring people together and communicate. And one of the
you're fighting is that New Jersey has traditionally been controlled by county bosses.
Yes.
County bosses. But again, we come back to the fact that you can't be much of a boss if your county doesn't control the government and doesn't win. No. So you may be the boss of the Republican Party in that county, but you could very well be the boss of a losing machine.
Which is essentially what happens, right? Like that's exactly what it is.
That. Now, David, let me get this straight.
Yeah.
You've been consulting with other people. You have people all over the country that you consult with. Yes. You feel that you have a plan, you have a system, or at least you can put one together with the right demographics and the right information. Information is power.
Yes.
That could energize, reform, and make the Republican Party in New Jersey successful. You're not what are you looking for in return, Dev, for that? Are you
so this is a good question. A lot of people think, what am I like? Do I have political ambitions? As of now, the answer is I might want to run for turn the 38th district, which is Bergen County, into red and run for an assembly position. But that's many years down the line, right? That's like
I've won once already.
I did run as an independent, yes. But that race wasn't for me to win. That race was to get the message of corruption out, which I was really passionate about in 2000.
We're fighting corruption.
I was fighting
Let
corruption.
me ask
Right?
you this though, when you ran as an independent, did you get some Republicans' noses out of joint?
I did. I did. So I went to Republican houses and I went to Democratic houses, and a lot of people agreed with me. That's the year the Bergen County had one of their assembly candidates drop out. His name was Matt, and then they couldn't get a quorum together, and they were a laughing stock.
Of the
And
of the Republican Party, on the
in
Republican Party.
Bergen County,
And
yeah,
let's say for the record, folks, that Bergen County used to be a strong Republican bastion in New Jersey. It was a Republican bastion in New Jersey, and now it's solidly blue. Am I right?
absolutely solidly blue. Up to 2008, 2000, the late 2000s, they were Republican, and then they were getting purple, and then they switched to blue. And this is after the crazy thing was there was the Democratic Party chair who went to prison for like taking no-show pay jobs at Hackensack Medical Center. We had a Democratic state senator from the 38 who also went to prison for giving like campaign donations, who was a huge political boss here. And the Democrats still took over, and the
Oh,
Republicans couldn't take advantage of that. That
oh, we
that
had
drove me. Like,
a
and
state senator that was indicted.
yeah,
We had a wonderful candidate opposing him, Bob Buchan, wonderful candidate, and
oh,
Menendez still won.
yeah. Well, Hugan, I'm not. Yeah.
Maybe you can address that from one of your more analytical standpoints. What happened here, Deb? Why did that happen?
So how states vote internally for governorship and how states vote federally are two different things, right? We won't have, like, for the next, we did an analysis work on that. We have still 10 years away till we have the potential to actually get a Republican candidate into the federal Senate. So Bob Hugan had no chance. The only way to actually win in the federal Senate level is to go through the Democratic primary for anyone who's politically hungry. And Menendez, there is the only candidate who targeted him, Lisa McCormick. She was a crook herself. So the irony is it was two crooks, one who was a well-known name who just got a slap on the wrist by the Senate Ethics Committee, and another whose husband stole money and got fined like $150,000 through the state commission. So you really didn't have much of a choice, right? And Bob Hugan could have spent $100 million. He would have still lost. It's just, it is how the state runs on the federal level. And this is not our state only, right? Like Connecticut, Massachusetts, they've had Republican governors before.
Massachusetts keeps electing Republican senators. I mean, Democrat
governor.
senators, and then they now have a Republican governor, right?
Yeah, Charlie Baker. So rarely do they elect a Republican senator. The last one was Scott Brown, and that was a special election. But they generally stay all Democratic blue since the Kennedy era.
So now you think in New Jersey in 2021, we're one of only two states that will be electing a governor, and will be electing an entire state legislature.
Yes.
This is a big election for New Jersey. We do it the year after the presidential election. You think we've got a real solid chance of electing a Republican governor?
Yeah, so we give the stats, so not a solid chance. I say it's above a 50%. So our forecasts show if the person is center right and not too far right, we give them a 52 to 53% chance of winning.
52 to 53%.
Yes.
And you pointed out that the last time this happened was Christie was elected. Okay, Christie elected the first time. We had a presidential election the year before New Jersey went Democrat for that. And then the following year, I guess that was Obama, when Obama was first elected.
Yeah, so for
and then the following year, we elected Christie as the Republican governor. And then you pointed out that Christie's opponent, who was the incumbent governor, again, it's the same type of situation, Corzine, outspent Christie, what, by more than 2 to 1?
2.5 to 1. Yeah. So we've been going every presidential election where the opposing party wins. In the next year, the opposing party becomes the governorship uh, in the state. So this has been happening for since the 90 to 2021, 20, hopefully 2021, if this trend continues. So money is not the issue, right? We've always, the Republican Party, yeah.
We know, Dev, we know as a fact that Governor Murphy, Phil Murphy, is going to spend an enormous amount of money. He has unlimited amount of money to tap. As you say, why is it not as big a factor as it maybe used to be?
So we're a special case, like, right? Us in Virginia have these off-year elections where the national parties are in full on force. So that gives us a favor. So when the Democrats have their candidates usually win, they slide back a little, right? And we are hungry. Usually we're supposed to be hungry, and we go up and fight. And the trend is people are like, okay, I'm tired of this old guy. You know, Corzine, he spent like so much money from federal, like 1 year he spent like $1 billion that the federal government gave him for education that was supposed to be spent over like 7 years, right? In 1 year. Like, so the guy had no spending cap. And like Murphy, he's basically taking bond after bond, and people are noticing, you know, during COVID, right? They're getting ticked off when you have 38% of small businesses like potentially closed down by 2021. You're going to have an adverse effect. So in politics, money follows the person who has the political capital at times, but other times is the grassroots effort that outsources everyone, right? So we have the year to have such a unlimited grassroots, and you don't have to pay volunteers anything, right? You just have to treat them nicely. You have to get them on your team.
Well, let me ask you this: of the two leading Republican candidates, there's going to be two dominant candidates in the primary for governor. If they get to the primary, one of them may get such a number of endorsements of the counties that maybe the other will drop out. I don't know. I'm not sure. But right now, it's Jack Ciattarelli versus Steinhardt. Okay. So of the two, Doug Steinhardt and Jack Ciattarelli, who do you think is going to be most receptive to new ideas, grassroots energy, new people, and the kind of systems that you want to put in place?
We have no doubt it's Jack Ciattarelli, right? And I'm not saying it out of a bias. I've actually tried to interact with Doug Steinhardt, and he's turned our ideas around. And Jack has been bringing in these younger groups like Blexit, Latin Exit. So he's more we see as a grassroots candidate. And the guy is generally, in my personal opinion, not in my organization, I think he's the less corrupted one, right? He built himself up from council to assembly, giving him term limits. There is no mention of him ever taking side money that's notorious in Jersey politics. While Steinhardt works for Florio, his law firm, right?
He's in Florio's law firm, the former Democratic Governor Florio. Yeah.
And where did they get their money from? The state coffers, right? So there's so many conflict of interest that it's beyond just mind-boggling.
So you think Ciattarelli is going to is more open, more welcoming, more receptive, will have a bigger Republican tent is going to be more welcoming to more people, including young people, people with new ideas, people with different ideas. Uh, and you find that hopeful, and you feel he has the better chance of winning then.
Uh, Much better. So we've also done some calculations on that. So when I said the 52 to 53, like that was for Jack.
Okay,
Uh,
now let me ask you this.
yeah.
Does he have the fire in his belly to win? And is he a grappler? Because Murphy, he may be a zillionaire, but he's a street fighter. He's a
So
street fighter, Dev.
yeah, so is Citarelli. If he wasn't a street fighter, he wouldn't be running this for a second time, right? He took on Godano and her machine his first time,
Uh-huh.
ended up losing, and then just campaigned on, right? The guy is a street fighter as well. If you ever saw his battles with his assemblyman, Wazinski, right? He
Yeah.
goes at it. He's a great debater. He's a policy wonk. The guy has been going at it for a long, long time.
He's also a policy wonk.
Yes, huge policy
This is
wonk.
amazing because Jack, and I've spoken with Jack, and those, I think New Jersey will come to know him as Jack, uh, is such a personable guy.
Yeah.
He's so open, he's so accessible that you wouldn't think of him as a policy wonk. Usually, policy wonks are, I always think of them as somewhat socially challenged.
um, it's surprising though, right? Like, so I don't know what I consider myself, but I love policy, right?
Right.
And I'm not. I don't think I'm socially
No,
challenged.
you're
So
not.
there's some.
You're
Yeah, some
definitely not.
the back room type of guys who just write in their pens all day or type away. I think that trend is changing, right? There's a lot of us who's trained in different fields who see different ideas and want to interact with people, right? Like, so I don't. There are some policy wonks like that. I'm not going to lie, right? There are academics and think tanks who don't leave their office, but there's sometimes you have the rare person who's both interested in politics and policy. And my favorite quote of all time is politics without policy is empty, and policy without politics is just dead, right? It's just like it doesn't work. You need both to go hand in hand, right? Like you can have the best theoretical ideas in the world,
Well,
but it means
I would say to you, policy without politics isn't sexy. Because although politics is show business for ugly people, I'm here to tell you from a lifetime of tinkering around with it that politics can be very sexy. Okay. Because ideas are sexy, powerful ideas are sexy, but they have to be advanced by the right people. They have to be advanced by the right people, by people who are engaging and charismatic, if you will. That's a big leap, but not everybody. You don't have to be charismatic. That's almost a mystical thing. But you've got to be engaging and you've got to be appealing. Yes?
You have to be a leader, hands down. You have to build that coalition, right? Without the votes, if you don't have the votes, you can't have effective policy. Now, the beauty of New Jersey is the governorship is the strongest in the country. So
you get the governorship, baby. You got a lot.
Yes, you do. You can advance policy with a state legislator that goes against you. We have, like, a lot of people don't know this. We have one of three I would consider the strongest governorships in the country. And Jack has the ability to change the momentum and the direction of the state for a very long time, for my generation and the generations to come.
No, this is very exciting. Now, Deb, how many people do you have involved at this point? Do you know?
So it depends. I'm a bridge between the analytics and the grassroots. On our analytics side, we have four really dedicated volunteers across the country who are once a computer
people that know about this stuff.
Yeah, so they're all independent, right? They're computer programmer, statistician, modeler. They have different backgrounds and they're very technically specialized. I don't let them interact with the politics.
And then you've got a lot of people that are interacting with you on Facebook.
Exactly. Them, and I have people outside of Facebook as well who I've developed networks with who will help us get our grassroots ideas
Are
across.
you getting a lot of traffic on Facebook?
I am. So we in 6 weeks we went from 0 people to 530 almost, right? So we've been, and that's zero money. We haven't even spent our advertising money yet, which we have, right? And I've been limiting that. I rather use that money for other ways, like
And you've been mentored by some really fine people in our party,
yes,
okay? Uh, JR,
I
JR
love him.
Carmen,
Yes, he's a mentor now. I'm being mentored by him now.
and Nora,
Nora Craig, I love
Nora
her.
Craig,
Yeah, South
who's
Jersey.
just uh, such, I don't know how to describe it, an inimitable personality. She is inimitable, is she not?
She's absolutely I can't even say the word, but she's absolutely brilliant, right?
And fearless.
Fearless, yes.
He is
She
a
has,
fearless conservative,
yes.
as is JR, John Robert Carmen. We call him JR. And these are two um, real activators in the Republican Party of New Jersey. And there's just so many great people like this, folks. I urge you to get involved. And I want to say, while I'm talking to Dev, you give me great hope for the future.
Thank you. You give me hope as well. So, you know,
Well,
it's your generation that believes in us, right? Like you, Nora, and JR, like you see hope in us. So JR has a huge following, like
yeah,
in itself, and a lot of the following, if you actually recognize it, is young people. So does Nora, right? Like
right.
Nora butts heads with everyone,
That's
but in
right.
the end of the day, you respect her because she's trying to make you better. She's trying to make you stronger when you step up into that role as leadership.
And
JR,
yeah, you can find these people on Facebook,
yeah,
folks. JR Carmen and the New Jersey Constitutional Republicans,
yeah,
and Nora Craig, who's in South Jersey. Um, Unbelievable people. And there are others.
yes,
There are, as you pointed out, there are Blexit people in New Jersey.
mhm,
Okay. By that we mean blacks exiting the
mhm.
Democratic Party.
It's a
And
Candace Owens group. Yeah.
Candace Owens, right. And one of the things that you discovered that you've been pushing too, um, Dev, is that with President Trump, we've had an enormous number of working class people move into the Republican Party. We ought to be capitalizing on that in New Jersey. We've got a lot of working class people in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have come over. They've come over to vote for Trump, but that's no guarantee they're going to continue to vote Republican.
No.
We've got to coax them in to permanently.
And we have data to prove that in 2016, when he won with the same people, in 2017, they didn't come out for our state legislator races, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's how I, like, when I saw that, we're not going to make the same mistake again. We will have them in this party this time around, and we will give them leadership roles and committee roles and whatever they want to run for, as long as they have the ability to succeed and win on their grounds. But we have to open the doors to them. We have to recruit them, right? They are a huge energy field waiting to happen. You know, the people like Billy and Passaic,
Prempa.
absolutely empathetic and
Folks who ran for Congress in Passaic County. Uh, what an amazing young man. I had the privilege of meeting him and chatting with him. Amazing African American Republican, a really committed and determined young man. I fully expect he's going to run for some office again. Okay, he ran against Congressman
Bill Pascal.
Pascal, who's 180 years old or somewhere in that range. I mean, he's one of the only people that's actually older than Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Pelosi's in that category. She's older than Joe Biden.
And he's one of the most powerful in the country. He's the head of the Ways and Means Committee, right?
Extreme amount of power, and I think he's well past his prime, and has been probably for a while. Okay.
It's unfortunate, right? Like,
This is the Democratic Party today, folks. People like Biden, who can't read a teleprompter, Nancy Pelosi, who half the time doesn't seem to know where she is, Bill Pascrell, Nancy Pelosi's assistant, the assistant leader of the House. They're ancient. They're ancient. I don't know what to tell you, Deb. I admire you tremendously that you are that you're making this effort. I urge people to go to Reform NJGOP on Facebook. Look at the questions that Dev is putting up there. He's trying to make you think and engage you. Respond, get involved. What else do you want to say, Dev?
We need young blood more than ever, right? Because the older generation of leadership, even within the NJGOP, they're getting ancient as well, right? And their time is coming to an end after what happened with Trump, right? There's a realignment going on, right? Like all these groups coming in. And we need young folks and all age groups. The age groups, we need mentors like you, Dan, right?
Oh, okay.
Who can give the wisdom. We do. One of the things I do worry about my generation is the last thing I want us to do is we turn the state red, and then we don't have the moral backbone to change ourselves and do what the Democrats do. So it's people like you and JR who can give us that moral integrity. It's like we can't play their type of politics and use their playbook anymore. And I do worry about some of the up and coming leaders that I've been interacting with. But it's people like you who can say, no, you have to change the system around completely, as well as the party. Because if it goes from blue to red and we still have corruption and high taxes, what good have I done in the end of the day? I've done absolutely nothing.
I want the Republican Party in New Jersey to get rid of a mindset of, the mindset of the country club Republicans who simply grit their teeth, clutch their pearls, and bear it. And don't feel so bad about losing because, well, we'll just have another martini. And let's, by the way, while we're doing that, let's check our investments, shall we? I want to see that mentality gone. And I want a Republican Party that's got teeth, that is feisty, that is in the fight to win.
That's coming up this year. So you will see them passed on. Their times are expiring quickly. As we see the new assembly candidates that are popping up every single day on our home pages. Young, ambitious, willing to take on in the primaries old establishment folks. Okay. Our generation is fearless when it comes to that, right? Like we've been screwed by the recession. We've been forced into waiting because of COVID. We've never had our chance to be the rising stars that we are. And now we are going to take.
You feel there's a lot of pent up energy.
Oh, yes.
There's a lot of pent up energy, and especially with this COVID, folks, there's a lot of pent up energy that's going to be hopefully going to be released. And by the time we get to the election in November, hopefully we're going to be on the other side of this effing pandemic. Okay? I don't know how else to put it. This effing pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay. Bev, it's been great chatting with you, and we'll promote this. You'll promote this on your Facebook and so
Of
forth.
course.
I'll promote it, and we're going to get the word out, Dev.
Yes, we will. And we're going to win next year, right? Especially win next year. We have a very, very good shot to win and flip a couple of Senate and House seats. We're looking at, there's five key ones we're looking at. So we have a good momentum going for us. Every single day we have to fight. We
Okay,
can't just fight in November and October, every single day. And
you're
people
right.
like you, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great. Take care. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Happy New Year, Dan. Thank you.